What would you do if you were a victim of racism on a flight and no one intervened? Today we tell you a real and touching story of racism on a plane, which turned into a powerful fight for justice. Stay with us until the end, because the reaction of the community and the conclusion of this story will leave you speechless. There's also an important message of redemption that you won't want to miss. But before we start this story, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any of our inspirational videos. On a flight home from a trip to Jamaica, Gail and her daughter Jasmine were ready to enjoy the journey back to London. However, their flight quickly turned into a nightmare when a passenger, Eric, began verbally harassing Gail because of the color of her skin. Eric had no idea that a silent hero, David, was sitting right behind him, ready to intervene. While Gail tried to ignore Eric's racist comments, David could no longer remain silent. Calmly but firmly, she stood up and defended Gail, demonstrating that racism would not be tolerated. The community on board rallied behind him, creating a common front against injustice. This episode of harassment on a flight is just the beginning of a story that sees solidarity against racism at the center of everything. But why was this flight so important to Gail and Jasmine? For them, it was the end of a meaningful journey, a return to their family roots in Jamaica. They had spent weeks rediscovering their connection with the land of their ancestors, visiting places full of memories and re-embracing relatives they hadn't seen for years. Every day spent on the island had rekindled in them a sense of belonging and pride in their cultural heritage. The return journey, therefore, should have been a moment of peaceful reflection on all the experiences we had had. But Eric, with his intolerance, transformed that moment of peace into a painful confrontation with the racism that Gail had fought all her life. Eric's words were like sharp blades that brought to light old wounds, memories of battles fought against injustice and discrimination. While Gail struggled to stay calm, trying not to let the pain show, Jasmine watched from her position a few rows back. He noticed the tension in his mother's face, the way her hands trembled slightly. Determined to intervene, Jasmine stood up and approached, demanding explanations from Eric with firmness and dignity. Jasmine's words, full of passion and determination, echoed in the plane cabin. His voice was not only a cry of defense for his mother, but also a call to action for everyone present. And what do you think? Have you ever witnessed an incident of racism in public? How did you react? Leave a comment below and let us know your opinion. Eric, taken aback by the passenger's choral response, attempted to defend himself, but his justifications rang hollow. The community on board, inspired by Jasmine's courage and David's quiet but powerful support, was unwilling to tolerate discrimination. The plane's commander was informed of the situation and, after a brief consultation with the crew, made a firm decision. Upon landing, Eric would be handed over to the authorities to answer for his actions. But before continuing, give a nice like and subscribe to the channel, activating the notification bell. This helps us create more content that matters. Gail and Jasmine's story didn't end on the plane. They decided to take Eric to court to answer for his actions. The legal battle attracted public and media attention, with the local community rallying in support. The verdict was a landslide victory for Gail and Jasmine, a clear signal that racism on planes and anywhere would not be tolerated. The court hearings were intense. Gail and Jasmine came forward with detailed testimonies and irrefutable evidence. The video recorded by David, which clearly showed Eric's verbal attack, became crucial evidence. Witnesses on board the flight, including some crew members, testified on Gail and Jasmine's behalf, describing the racist incident in David and Jasmine's courageous intervention. During the trial, Gail's personal story also emerged. He talked about how he had faced racism from a young age, growing up in an often hostile and discriminatory society. Her words, full of emotion and dignity, touched the hearts of many, highlighting how important this battle was not only for her and Jasmine, but for all the people who had suffered similar injustices. The judge, moved by Gail's strength and resilience, issued an exemplary sentence against Eric. In addition to having to pay significant compensation, Eric was sentenced to participate in a racism and diversity awareness rehabilitation program. The judge hoped that this experience would transform Eric and teach him the value of respect and equality. But the story does not end here. Years later, Eric, repentant and changed, sought forgiveness from Gail and Jasmine. This transformation and their act of forgiveness shows the power of redemption and reconciliation, and reminds us that even in the darkest situations, there is hope for positive change. After the sentence, Eric's life changed radically. Lost his job and ostracized by the community, Eric had to face the consequences of his actions. However, during the rehabilitation program, he began to understand the depth of the pain he had caused. He met people of different ethnic backgrounds who shared their stories and experiences of discrimination, opening Eric's eyes to a reality he had always ignored. Determined to make amends, Eric began volunteering in organizations that promoted social justice and equality. He attended workshops, conferences, and support groups, learning the importance of fighting racism and promoting inclusion. Every day, he strove to be a better person, knowing that his past could not be erased, but hoping that his present actions could make a difference. When Eric decided to write a letter to Gail and Jasmine, he did so with a heavy heart. He didn't know if they would accept his apology, but he felt he had to try. The letter was an act of sincere repentance, expressing his deep regret for the pain caused and his commitment to fighting racism. Gail and Jasmine, initially skeptical, were touched by Eric's sincerity. After much thought and discussion, they decided to meet him. The meeting was tense at first, but as time passed, barriers began to break down. Gail and Jasmine saw the change in Eric, and realized that their forgiveness could be a powerful message of hope and redemption. This story teaches us the importance of fighting racial discrimination and supporting social justice in every aspect of our lives. It is a story of resilience, solidarity against racism, and the strength of human relationships. If this video touched your heart, we invite you to continue your journey with us by watching this video about fighting discrimination. Thanks for following us. See you next time.